What's going on, guys? So this is going to be take two. Staining didn't quite go how I wanted yesterday. First off, the little rig I had, having it suspended between the tripod and the tree. In theory, it seemed like a good idea, but I don't know, it was just kind of fiddly, didn't work right. Didn't fall down or break or anything, but it wasn't going so well, so I've got it mounted on my work table in a vise right now, so that should be a lot easier to work with. Two, I've been finding a lot of debate about staining hickory. At this point, I've heard equal debate on both sides. Some say it's really difficult to stain, some say it's super easy. Most of it seems dependent upon what type of stain you're using, you know, polyurethane, or in this case, oil-based or alcohol-based. From what I can tell from using the black shoe dye, if I use an alcohol-based, that's going to make this one solid color, you know, real dark. Like, you know, if I use RIT or, you know, say brown shoe dye, it's just going to be way too dark for what I want. Plus, I really don't have the funds right now to go out and buy a whole bunch of different stuff, so I'm just kind of sticking with what I have. It's definitely going to take multiple coats, that's obvious. As you saw when I was putting it on yesterday, it came out like real thick, dark chocolate brown, looking real nice. However, when you wipe it off, it pretty much looked like it did nothing. After that, my battery camera died, my memory card for my voice recorder died, and everything just started going wrong, but I ended up mounting it in my table. Doing a second coat, except this time I left it on for 15 minutes, which was way too long because it was real thick, extra tacky. It was really hard to get off. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a real thin coat this time. Now, some of the other things I found was in doing some more testing was that it really didn't make any difference as to what sanding grit you had used for the wood. This is sanded to 2000, which I could certainly understand how it might be too high a grit to let the oil sink in. However, anytime when I've tested it with 120 grit or it's recommended 220 grit, I get the exact same results. The stuff just wipes off, barely leaving a stain at all, looking nothing like what the can looks like. So I'm kind of up in the air on that. A couple of things I tried was mixing the black leather shoe dye with the Rust-Oleum. That worked some. It definitely affected it and cut it and made it a little bit thinner, dried a little bit quicker, and made it a little darker, but it was more on the black side. I'm kind of wanting to go a little more brown. So I also did some tests with just adding denatured alcohol to the Rust-Oleum, which I'm sure you're not supposed to do that. At first it doesn't mix. If you let it sit a little while, it does end up mixing. It does thin it out, and it did put a much more brown look to it. Again, I'm still going to have to do multiple coats, but they went on a lot easier and wiped off a lot easier and left more stain. So I've maybe cut the stain time down in half. So instead of 20 coats, maybe 10. So we'll see how that goes. If that doesn't work, I've also done some testing with mixing equal parts of the Rust-Oleum and the Minwax that I had and adding denatured alcohol to that, and that gave it a real nice chocolate brown. But I think what I'm going to do first is go ahead and actually try the Rust-Oleum by itself, give that another coat or two and see how that does, see if it comes around the second time, and I'm not going to let it sit more than a couple of minutes and just wipe it off. So let's see how that does. Oh, and excuse the air conditioner. It's a little too warm out to be turning off the AC from my house. Let's go ahead and get a closer look at what the grain actually came out like. So it did come out nice. I mean, it's definitely darker than it was. You know, hickory's pretty light wood. And I think that's some of the problem also, is that it's a really light and dense wood, so it seems to me that's kind of naturally resistant to staining, and then also the light wood, just, you know, it's light, so it affects the color a bunch. But I mean, you can see it some. It definitely put some nice black and nice grains in the grain of the wood. And yeah, I don't know if you can catch that on camera, but where I used the shoe dye came out great. But again, that's just a straight solid color, and that's not really what I'm looking for. So I don't think I want to use an actual, you know, alcohol-based dye. Oh, another thing that was mentioned was that I probably should have used some kind of wood conditioner. I don't know if I can do that at this point. I've already got 2 coats of stain on, so I don't know if that would affect it at all. And I don't want to sand this anymore. I don't want to lose any more weight on this thing. It's already on a little bit lower side than I want as far as draw weight. So I don't want to go out and spend more money on sandpaper. So again, just kind of making do with what I have. Got some other projects I need to be getting on anyway, so let's go ahead and get these other coats on and see where that leads us. It's funny, I've done stains on wood before, you know, cabinets and stuff and different wood projects, and never had any problem that I've been coming up with this, you know, even with having, you know, high gloss sanding or just, you know, real low grit or unfinished wood. Also yesterday I was using a balled up piece of t-shirt that works, well, in past experience on cabinets and stuff, works great. You know, it gives you good pressure, a nice flat surface once you know, conforms to different shapes. But I don't know, yesterday it wasn't working out so well. So I'll switch to a brush and that works much better. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start applying the Rust-Oleum just regular by itself, not cut with anything. And again, of course, you always want to try and get a nice even coat, which is sometimes easier said than done. And this time I'm going to go as light of a coat as possible, and also only let it sit for 2-3 minutes. It doesn't seem like it needs much this time. See, man, yeah, even going on right now, this stuff's pretty thick. Guess there's not too much to be done about that unless you actually cut it with something. Oh, and then I also found out that when I cut it with denature alcohol, it does change the color slightly. Just makes it a little more golden brown once you wipe it off. This stuff goes on like oil. Ridiculous. Now what I really like is a dark color like this, but then, you know, being able to see some of the grain through it, but we'll just have to see how that goes. You always want to check for drips and trying to avoid that as is possible. And I guess I'll go ahead and do the back also right now. So yesterday when I did both limbs at the same time, that, I don't know, almost seemed too much. Like the way this is feeling right now, I'm probably gonna wipe it off right now. Yeah, I don't think I have time to actually cover the other limb. Which is kind of a bummer because then it might be a little more difficult to match things, but not too much I can do about that, doesn't look like. And again, this all might be down to just a poor choice of stain. Lessons learned. Alright, so I'm just going to kind of keep this as wet as possible. Maybe if I just do that, just do it real quick and try and keep that damp as I go. Because I really don't want to have to do the limbs separate. So, alright, yeah, so we're on to the second limb. The one bad thing about that is it's making me put it on a little too thick. Damn, so I guess I just got to be real quick with it. Quit talking so much. And again, I'm going to be doing the middle of the handle a little bit different color, or a darker black, so I'm not too worried about hitting that up right now. Of course, I want to get this underneath some though. Yeah, boy, this stuff gets sticky quick. A little too quick. Guess if I just go ahead and keep things moving though, that ought to help. Yeah, this says let it sit, I think, between 5 and 15 minutes. 15 minutes was a joke, and I don't think 5 is going to be enough, or be too much rather, so Let's go ahead and take that off right now. I'm just using some regular soft paper towels for this. Yeah, so you can see it wipes off. Actually, it's wiping off pretty quick this time, but doesn't leave much stain behind. This, yeah, comparing it to the handle, yeah, it looks like it did a little bit of good. Just gonna take a whole lot of coats, I think. I'm probably gonna do one or two coats. This is all right. So one coat of this, maybe a second one, and then see if I want to change up to the mixed formula. Either just to give it some different highlights or a little bit different look or something. Yeah, boy, this is already slightly hard to get off. Yesterday was a pain in the butt, man. I had to scrub it like crazy. And then even this morning, yeah, I rubbed this down until nothing came off on a paper towel. And then even this morning it was still a little bit tacky, so I gave it a wipe down with denatured alcohol, which seemed to work just fine. Now, unfortunately, it takes longer to rub off than I would like, so I need to be getting to the other limb now. Maybe I need to give it a wiping. Yeah, it seems like with this stuff, if you go back, give it a little wipe every once in a while you're cleaning the other one off, it makes it not quite as sticky. But I'm still not on the other side though. It's too bad they don't tell you in the directions that, oh yeah, by the way, you're gonna have a really difficult time for some reason. Yeah, but that's life. So yeah, at this point, it's only been on for about, I don't know, 3 or 5 minutes, not terribly long. And it's just barely enough to wipe off. Because yeah, like I said, that 15 minutes was ridiculous. Yeah, this is already getting really sticky and kind of difficult. Looking at it, I'd say it's maybe a shade or two darker. So it's definitely going to take some time. Oh look, that rotten cat has returned. You going to help this time? No, what a bum. He's rotten. Now, rotten cat. Anyway, so you think you'd do something to help? No. All right, so I'm just going to continue to get this off. That sounds terrible. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and continue to wipe the stain off of here and put on a second coat and see what that does, and I'll get back to you. All right, so I've got some denatured alcohol. I'm just going to go ahead and mix equal parts of these stains. I'm sure this is a pretty unconventional thing to do, but whatever. That's how you improvise. 3 of those. 3 of the other. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this on camera. The two products mix fine, but then of course when you add the alcohol, that may change it a little bit. I'm just going to kind of add, I don't know. Yeah, it looks like enough. See if you can get that on camera. I don't know if you can tell. It just kind of looks like an oil slick, or like vinegar and oil, you know, when you mix it. But I'm just going to give that a good stirring. What the hell? A little bit more for Santa Claus. Go ahead and clean our brush off a little bit, try and get some of that other stain off. Let's see what we get here. Oh right, I'm just testing the handle. Ha. Gonna go ahead and just do a test spot. I've already done this test on an actual test piece of wood, so just gonna kind of see how this does anyway. Again, not gonna let it sit very long. Doesn't seem like it needs that. Let's see what we get. Well, I can't tell much. Yeah, actually, yeah, it looked like it darkened some of the grain some. Screw it, it's gonna go for it. Alright, so I've got my mix, and I'm just gonna go ahead and apply it. You know what, I think it needs a little more alcohol. Too much. Yeah, it definitely goes on a lot thinner. Well, it doesn't look any thinner, but you can feel the difference. The color's a little shades a little bit less. Doesn't make any sense. Also, I found as an easy tip and trick that once it starts getting sticky, if you just go ahead and apply another quick coat on it, it clears that up and you can just wipe it back off again.